Hello and welcome back to Billy Ho Sports. This weekend at Fairgrounds Park is going to be a huge race day card. All abuzz with the Louisiana Derby, the big race there for the Kentucky Derby Prep, 100 points to the winner. But today we're going to talk about the older horses and the return of one Sierra Leone in the Grade 2 New Orleans Classic. That's going to be race number 9 on your card. So before we get started, we're not doing like a handicap contest. If you've watched my previous videos, I was going to try to put something together. Sponsors restrictions and such caused a problem, but we're going to do some giveaways. So basically, for the 7 100 Derby point races coming up March 22nd, 29th, up to April 5th, just leave your winner in the comments, and the first one to correctly pick the winner is going to win a prize. Could be Derby swag, Derby glasses, probably Derby glasses because I have a bunch of those to give away. So we'll think of some other stuff along the way, and maybe we'll have some fun with it as we go. So must be a subscriber. So subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button while you're at it. And let's get into this race. It's a really good field. It's not just Torpedo Anna like field from a couple weeks ago where it's a glorified exhibition or something. Sierra Leone does have some competition. So we are going to jump over to past performances. We'll watch some race replays as we go along, and we'll point out some things that hopefully will help us narrow down the field. Let's do it. Okay, so we're going a mile and an eighth, Grade 2 Classic, 500K on the line. And you can see, of course, Prime Power. We obviously see Sierra Leone with a significant advantage there. So let's get into some horses. We're going to start with number 1, Kinetic. That's Brad Cox, Luis Saez aboard. So this one's kind of an interesting one. 4-year-old by Street Sense, second best to Saudi Crown down here in the Tenacious. And good run by him in this one. Just no match for Saudi because Saudi's just he loves this front running 8.5 furlong fairgrounds. I mean, he just eats that kind of stuff up. And but Kinetic was there. He did bounce back when he went over to Oaklawn a month later in the General MacArthur. Really good race here. 92 Brisnet figure is a dip, but it was still a more controlled, probably a little weaker field too, honestly, even though it was more money. But he won that one. But the problem is in these two races that I watched, especially the previous Tenacious, Luis Saez had a time down the stretch fighting him from lugging in. And you can see lugged in right here in the next one too. But Pratt actually had a little better of time of it. And it could have more to do with just where the traffic was in the MacArthur than anything else, or Pratt's just a flat better jockey, or had a better feel for him or whatever. But Saez is back aboard, but he could be just improving. He could be just shaking off that tendency to do that. So he's still just a youngster at 4 years old, developing as we speak. You can see these are all his career races. He's got a total of 6. This is his 7th start. Godolphin owned. So that one is one you probably want to take a close look at. Hall of Fame is another one that's interesting to me. That Steve Asmussen had some sort of issue down here in the Louisiana Derby, but lots of times as tried the Risen Star, did definitely a couple of bad races here, and they decided to shelve them and do probably just some retraining, or maybe there was some soreness, or maybe they didn't like what they saw. But anyway, Asmussen went back to the drawing board, quite successfully made his return December 24th with a 94 rating and in the win at Churchill Downs, going a mile. Then he stretches his legs, gets that mile and a 16th on a good surface, so a little softer surface there, but still ran a 96 and blew him out by 6 lengths. So he runs him back one more time with Jose aboard. Jose's riding again. Jose is a hot fire. You can see 29% winner. He is owning fools at the track this year. So Mineshaft, Grade 3, solid win. He beat a couple of rivals in this race, who Como Barino, Amode, Not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's a tough one. That's one of the hardest names, and I'm going to say it a lot, so I'll probably say it three different ways. So prepare yourself for that. And Maycox Bay is another one that was in that race, but he got the head bob over KO. Let's call him KO, so you'll know who we're talking about. So he KO'd KO in the stretch there. San Siro's probably one that we're not going to look too much at. Trained by Brendan Walsh, broke his maiden at Fairgrounds, so he's got that going for him. He did run a 93 Brisnet and a runaway 4 length lead right here in a 4 length, 4.5, 4.25 win. But that's 50K. He dropped in for that tag after the 80 in December, where he ran third. So he had to drop in to 50 to get the W. So going back up to grade two company, no thanks. Maycox Bay led the mine shaft all the way into the stretch before being run down. Although KO, as we'll call him, was rocking and rolling there along with Maycox Bay. And Hall of Fame got her done there. Hall of Fame is a really nice horse. So anyway, Maycox Bay is trained by Mike Stidham, developing into a nice stakes horse in his own right. Bookend wins. So he goes January and off the turf and wins by 10, and then just takes the rest of the year off until December, where he comes back and he wins again for Michael Stidham, another Godolphin horse. So really good. So he's ready for prime time. He jumps up to Louisiana, where he goes up against KO and hits show, and I believe that's Skinner that ran third in that race. So he was fourth place to those. Very competitive race, pretty nice. Third in that mine shaft, which was won by Hall of Fame, and KO was second. So solid horse in his own right. Another one you may have to just start leaving out, making decisions, taking stands, so to speak. So touch upon a star, and this is Jeff Delhomme. I see Jay Delhomme, and I keep thinking Jake Delhomme, who used to play for the Carolina Panthers. But anyway, Timothy Thornton is going to ride this horse back to back 101s in the Black Stakes ranks at Fairgrounds and then in Delta. So anyway, this LA Classic was a very slow paced race. You could see the 49.5 going a mile and an eighth. So pretty slow pace, -8, -8's a little on the slow side. But so he was able to control that all the way. Then he stepped his game up a little bit more at Delta and just blew him off the map. So he's probably ready to move up in class, but I don't know if he's ready to wire this field. He's probably not wiring Sierra Leone unless somehow they, of course, Sierra Leone likes to sit back, but he'll flat come after you. Pace doesn't matter to him because he's making his move on the turn, and he's not waiting for the stretch drive to get after you. And it's a long stretch drive at Fairgrounds if you're unaware. It's well over 1,200 feet. So Uno Mas Barbon, Brian Hernandez aboard. Lots of 90s, 96. Pretty good run here in the fall in the Clark and the Fayette, third and a fourth. Not terrible. Then bounces for the rest of the winter and comes back in February 15th, going a mile. Was closing, bumped at the start, but it was not terrible. He did get jostled around a little bit and pushed back, so it probably did cost him a little bit of stress there. But he was really good in the race. So, but still not one I'm going to get to. He's just there's just too many other good ones in here, like yours truly here, Sierra Leone, Flavian Pratt back up. I mean, he's running. We were bragging on these minor stakes up here with the 101s. Well, this dude just cranks them. He just cranks triple digits all day long, 104, 103, 105 in major stakes races. He's far and above the class of anybody in this field. Cue the music. The champ is here. So second after the Kentucky Derby, third Travers, Jim Dandy. Jim Dandy was really, when I went back and looked at that, that was an awesome race because he went heads up with Fierceness, and those two battled it out, and somehow Fierceness was able to beat him back down the stretch and win that race from the outside. but Sierra Leone flipped the script on him, obviously, and ran him down in the big Breeders' Cup Classic. So he's actually returning to where it all started for him, pretty much on his Derby trail when he won the Risen Star. Also, check it out, adding Lasix for the first time. That L with the square around it is first Lasix, so that's pretty interesting. And I don't know what improvement it'll do for him, but it can't hurt. So I don't know if it's not really cause for concern or anything like that. So anyway, 27%. Chad Brown. I mean, it's there's no way this horse is not going to be odds on 1 to 2 type 1 to 9 or whatever. Well, no, probably not 1 to 9 because there is enough competition in this race with Tarantino. Another one trained by Peter Urton, 7-year-old gelding, but hasn't broke through for that big win. If you go all the way back to his 3-year-old season, and he had a second in the Holy Bull, fourth in the Fountain of Youth. You can't see it on here, but I went back and looked at the whole deal. So he had a good run as a 3-year-old. Now fast forward to November, and he jumps back into the after he gets his groove back here, and Peter Urton takes over the training duties in August. He starts working his way up with back-to-back wins, and then now he's in stakes company again. Native Diver, second place to Skinner, second in the Lafitte Pin Kai to JB Strikes Back. And then this San Pascal race, which I've referred to in several videos before, where all four horses go evenly across the track, having a little meet and greet there down the stretch, and nobody knows who. And Katona was the one that actually ultimately pulled ahead. Express Train and Imagination, and Tarantino was the one horse on the inside trip. He should have, I thought, got the job done that day. But those were blistering fractions. So he's going to get a lot more reasonable fractions. I mean, you just get those kind of fractions at Santa Anita sometimes where they just break out and just roll on out. And you got to go get them. So Tarantino could be a factor. Wait and find out. Now here he is. It's Comore Bino Amoide. I think might be the best or closest one. Blinkers off for him. So maybe that'll help get him off of this second-itis he's got in these last two races in the mine shaft in Louisiana. I mean, he was down the stretch in the lead, right there where you want to be. And then Hall of Fame just caught him at the wire and beat him by a head. And that was an unfortunate one. But he was a pretty good leader in the stretch once again in Louisiana. But Hit Show was able to run him down in the slop in that one. So it's time for him to win a race, maybe, but this is probably not it. And I believe what I said in my notes was, well, I'll get to that in a minute. So stick around there because I want to finish out the field. This is Bishop's Bay. And Bishop's Bay is a 5-year-old by Uncle Mo, trained by Brad Cox. And that magical 2023 season, if you go all the way back to this Peter Pan here, where Jenna Antonucci introduced us to Arcangelo, who turned out to be a pretty solid horse. He ran a monster 101 and lost just a battle with Arcangelo down the stretch. Bishop's Bay did. And then he did the same thing again. Arguably, the second best horse that came out of Kentucky Derby was Two Fills, who ran second in the Kentucky Derby, was just lights out in the Ohio Derby and did beat him, but he was clear second. He was clear by almost 6 lengths second. So he drops down to 50K, optional claimer at Indiana, and gets it done there. Then he takes a little time off, comes back in January on a muddy track and just gets beat by a head. So I'm not mad at him. I won't shame him too much for that one on an off track. So the next up was Oaklawn Park again, and he gets it done with Pratt aboard. He'll have IRAD this time, which is fine. I'm okay with that too. So Bishop's Bay, I'm interested to see how he will do because he was good enough horse back in 2023 to compete with those Arcangelos and those BC Classic type horses. So there's not much to tell on the track bias. 75% of the races have been early speed horses. but that's just 4 races. You can't really glean anything too much for that. So ultimately, it's going to be like this. Early leans, obviously, Sierra Leone is a cut above everybody here. Unless I hear something during the week that's off with him, he's the guy, your key horse. He's the guy that you're going to see coming down the stretch, running down Touch Upon a Star, who's likely going to be wanting to lead. Uh, but now I'll tell you this: Touch Upon a Star is fast. You can see his second in prime power. He's fast out front, and if he gets that trip similar to the Louisiana Classic he got, he could be a problem. But also other horses interesting. Obviously, I want to see Bishop's Bay, and then KO and Tarantino. All of those. So Sierra Leone, I think if you want me to rank them in order, I'm going Sierra Leone. Then I'm going to go Bishop's Bay. I'm hoping he's going to offer some value because people have seen KO recently run strong. So I think he'll take some money. And Tarantino, I think, might be a good sleeper. So I'll be back later in the week with more of a deep dive in some of these other races, and I think I'll do some sort of a best bets type show where we can narrow down exactly what we're going to do with these races, make it part of the late pick five hammer time or something like that. So thanks for joining me today. Your continued support, appreciate it always. Subscribe and like. Till next time, see you soon.